Hello and what is up everyone, this is your boy Pac-Man here, and today we're going to have a video in regards to a little feud that's going on right now between some YouTubers who deal exclusively in Fallout and Fallout 4 content. That being the current feud right now between Oxhorn and the YouTubers Thomas Beckett, Shitlord Builds, TKs-Mantis, and there's a few other ones lumped in there, but those are really the main guys right there. Thomas Beckett, you might also know as Logical Fallacy, and a little bit of background if you don't know who Oxhorn is. Oxhorn is a YouTuber. He's got a pretty good base. He's got over 1 million subscribers, and his content mainly centers around the Fallout universe. Fallout 4, Fallout 3, and more recently into the Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 worlds. He handles mostly doing lore videos, and he often does opinion videos, is something moral and putting out kind of the moral decision between making decisions in Fallout games. And usually you'd think that that wouldn't really be too much of a thing, but there's a little bit of a feud going on right now. Now, the main kind of points of what all three of these guys kind of have a problem with Ox about is his past views and pretty much trying to cover up his past views. And then, second, the way he handles presenting his work. These days, especially, there's a lot of spotlight being put on people who shill for the company, and honestly, that's a lot of what this feud has to do with. And third, it's about Ox's conduct in regards to how he treats people who criticize him and whatnot. So, Ox is, a pretty nice guy, it would seem. I mean, I used to be a subscriber of his. Actually stopped subscribing to his channel, mainly not for any reason like this, but mainly because he produces Fallout based content and has been producing a lot of content on Fallout 76, a game that I don't really give two shits about. So, I unsubscribed just because I don't really watch his videos, and I haven't watched his videos in a little while. That being said, his channel is, I would say, pretty family friendly. His opinion videos, you know what, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but at the same time, his base is at a certain age to where, I guess because he's a father, he wants to be that father figure on YouTube to his younger YouTube subscribership, but that's kind of irking some guys in the wrong way, especially these guys. So okay, so their three, or I mean, so their arguments really on this is, well, Ox is a shill for Bethesda. If you watch Ox's videos, honestly, it's hard to deny that he is a shill for Bethesda. I mean, he praises them, especially with his coverage of Fallout 76. He was just glossing over the massive issues that game had. I completely can understand because his channel is completely based around Fallout stuff, and he's got to make Fallout content. So I do understand him defending his livelihood, but at the same time, even other gamers, other YouTubers, even though they are in the same boat as him, they have still been able to talk about the truth of how bad that game actually is. So, being a shill for Bethesda, yeah, I can totally understand that. Also, most of them will give more credit to modders and ID software versus Bethesda for fixes and changes to the game that they make, especially when Bethesda will create large DLCs and stuff like that, which is great. I love it when companies do that, but at the same time, I do wish that that was kind of all released with the game. In the circumstances of like New Vegas, Fallout 3, stuff like that, I think those were actually okay as DLCs just because the games were pretty complete and those were completely additional things that they decided to add later on. With Fallout New Vegas, I mean, of course, different studio, Obsidian handling that one, one of the best Fallout games ever made, in my point of view. And their DLCs were gigantic, added tons of content, and were very, very fun to play. Okay, so yeah, Ox tends to not give enough credit to the actual modders and stuff like that, rather than Bethesda for the fixes that they made to those games. Because I think anybody can agree Fallout 3 and, as a result, Fallout New Vegas, the shooting gunplay portion of the game was not very fun, was not accurate almost at all, which was frustrating, but whatever. Okay, so also they have a problem really with, well, how would I put this? They think it's fair to criticize Bethesda, whereas Oxhorn constantly defends them and actually does not feel that it is right to give Bethesda as much criticism as most people do. I completely disagree with that. Bethesda has earned every ounce of criticism that they have received. And the reason why is because, I think is obvious to everyone, they stopped making a role-playing game and started making a first-person shooter game. They wanted to marry the two, but they ended up giving too much to the first-person shooter side of it, and took away way too much on the RPG elements of the game, which is where most people criticize. Also, really Fallout 4 criticism, I think we can all agree that Fallout 4 is extremely frustrating to play at times. Me personally, I have never had a session that has lasted, I usually play for 2 to 3 hour spans, never had a session where I haven't had a fatal game bug where I completely, it's like a memory glitch and it's an infinite load screen, or it just completely, boom, boots me out of the game. Again, I have never had a bug-free experience playing that game, and usually it's a critical bug that happens. So I think it's perfectly fair to criticize Bethesda for making a game that just had way too many bugs in it, and even the patches didn't fix all of them, which is kind of sad, because it's a sign that the engine just could, the way that the game is designed, it just cannot be fixed in a very simple way. It has to go from, the drawing board up type fixes. But then also, I'd say last on this subject is that Fallout 4 was a bad Fallout game, but it was actually a mediocre game. It's an enjoyable game to play, but it was a bad Fallout game. And I already said it's mainly because they're stripping out the RPG elements and they streamlined it and dumbed down the game really for a larger audience. Now, with Thomas Beckett in specific, he attempted to contact Ox to correct lore mistakes, and he was a bit abrasive, I would say, but at the same time, completely fair in his criticism. So he dropped some comments on the vid, some DMs and whatnot, and apparently what Ox started doing is, instead of really, working to correct some lore mistakes that he himself made, he actually, removed comments or made it on YouTube. You can hide comments to where you can make it so that the person in themselves can see the comment, but then the general people cannot, who are just visiting the video. And it's, I would say, kind of like a shadow ban. It's a type of strange censorship that has kind of creeped its way into YouTube, which I don't personally like myself, but whatever. Now, yeah, they all just do not like Ox's attitude that really Bethesda can do no wrong, or he does admit that they can do some wrong, but then he doesn't really hammer down on them like everybody else does. I think mainly because everyone else has really just lost their patience for all the BS coming out of Bethesda these days, and they just want a quality product. Now, this is kind of the meat of it. All that other stuff is more superficial. This is the meat, really. And there's the Simon Mercer incident, which is where Oxhorn actually tried to three-strike a channel who was criticizing him, try to three-strike him and get him kicked off of YouTube. Now, me personally, I've looked into this as deep as I can, and apparently on the third strike attempt, he was unable to get that strike to go through, so he was able to keep his channel. But it highlights the lengths that Oxhorn has gone to try to silence people who are actually criticizing him. Now, you could say whatever you want about the criticisms in themselves, like, Ox says that they're bullying him and whatnot. Honestly, I'm gonna stay out of that. I do not share Ox's opinion on that. I think they were being abrasively critical of him, but at the same time, what Ox did was completely unacceptable. I mean, trying to do a three-strike ban of somebody on YouTube, especially when they're just trying to make a living and they're critical of you, is just, it's BS. Okay, and then especially using the guise of going through the guise of fair use, even though their videos were totally fair use, going through the guise of that to try to, take down a channel is just wrong. So on that issue, I totally agree with the guys that, honestly, this is something that should never happen, and Ox should really learn from this. You never try to three-strike somebody, because the backlash that you're going to get from something like that is just horrible. I mean, that is horrible. That's just a shady thing to do. Let's see, next, most of them have really issues with Ox's shop merch. His merch, I'm not going to get way too deep into that, but his shop merch uses a lot of Fallout 4 imagery and stuff like that really is suspicious why they haven't come after him on what he's selling. He sells stuff that is very, very much using the assets from Bethesda in their designs. There is actually a defense of it that on Bethesda's behalf, they have not actually released a lot of merch that is similar to the stuff that he's making design-wise. But at the same time, it's very, very suspicious, and it adds kind of to the thing that, hey, maybe this guy actually has an agreement with Bethesda here. And that would actually explain exactly why they've been going so, or Ox has been kind of going so easy on Bethesda. Now, next is Ox's personal views on a lot of things. Now, for me, anybody, I don't care what personal views you have. You could have bigoted views if you want to. I don't really give a damn. Everybody has the right to think what they want to think. That's a basic freedom that every human on Earth has, and I think that, it is what it is. Ox is kind of like a religious guy. If he's not overly religious, then he at least is someone who believes more or less in religious morality when it comes to things based in Judeo-Christian type morality. And so he's got a little bit of an issue with homosexuality, masturbation, stuff like that. Honestly, if I were him, I would just stick to making Fallout 4 videos. Those types of things will just get you into nothing but trouble if you start talking to him. It's one of the reasons why he pretty much, removed his entire blog that he used to have up, because he used to touch in these types of issues a lot. And if you're trying to make your living on YouTube, it's all about image, I would say. For a guy like him, over 1 million subscribers and something like that, you will just get eaten alive by the social justice warriors. And also, even for me, I'm, agnostic. I was raised a Christian. I really don't give a damn, about homosexuality and masturbation. Come on. If you don't masturbate, Jesus Christ, how does anybody not, any guy who's not in a regular sexual relationship going to ever stay sane without masturbation, right? So that's as much as I'll say on that. But finally, they have a more general kind of problem, and they're annoyed with his, I guess the only way to really say it good is that he's more of a beta male. That's just what he's more of a beta. He's not more of an alpha. That's just apparent. Anyone could see that. But they have, that's saying that he puts out some videos in regards to like manliness and stuff like that. Honestly, videos like that rub people who have a little bit more of an alpha type um, personality, rubs them way the wrong way. And yeah, if I were him, I would just stay at making videos like that if you're going to be focusing on Fallout there. But pretty much all three of them agree, and a lot of other people do too, that he kind of acts like a pretentious douchebag. You know, being a pretentious douchebag is not really something that's good for your image. There's also something about a YouTuber called Keemstar, and I'm not going to get into this because this is a really long subject. If you want more in-depth stories in regards to this Keemstar issue, I would suggest going over to Thomas Beckett's channel, or Shitlord Builds, or TKs-Mantis, because they've all done videos on this particular portion of it. But pretty much Keemstar published something in regards to this, a video, and he just had his information completely wrong on it. He actually was looking in the completely wrong person's DM stream, and when by the time actually they kind of acknowledged that, they opened it up and there's no DMs, meaning they deleted, you know, the entire message archive on it. So yeah, that's something that well, go ahead and watch their videos, and you can make up your own determination on that. Finally, they pretty much have all the same view that he's just really, really trying to make as much money as he can, and he'll put forward any image that he can to make as much money as he can. They highlight, you know, his previous you know, merchandise sales that he used to do, specifically in regards to beer growing products like beard pills and stuff like that. I've heard him being called a snake oil salesman and whatnot. Hey, you know what? Beard pills, if you're the type of person who's susceptible to buying stuff like this, then you know what? You deserve to get your money taken away from you. I'm sorry. But if you're buying beard pills, you know, take this from a guy who actually cannot physically grow a beard, because my face is not built like that. I have the face of a nice baby child, you know, when it comes to facial hair. So that's really, in a nutshell, the whole feud between these guys. Honestly, my point of view, I think they're being very overcritical on a lot of issues in regards to it, but one thing that they all have perfectly right on this, and they have every right to hammer Ox on, is the whole 3-strike thing with the Simon Mercer. That thing is just disgusting. I think every YouTuber can agree that if they see behavior like that happening, where someone literally tries to get your channel taken down over criticism, I think anybody can agree that that's just disgusting behavior. So that's really my conclusion on it. Ox isn't really all that bad of a guy, but he did some really petty crap, needs to apologize for it. In his response video that Oxhorn actually released, he touches on a lot of this stuff, but he actually does not talk about the 3-strike ban thing. I think he really needs to talk about that if he wants to kind of repair his image with more of the diehard Fallout fan group that is getting kind of pissed at him right now. But that's my opinion. Take it or leave it. Thanks for listening. If you have any constructive criticism, if you like the video, please leave a like, comment, let me know what you think. And if you have any suggestions for the next video, go ahead and put them down there. I do read all the comments, and if you do have any questions, I'd be glad to go ahead and answer them for you. Again, this is Pac-Man here. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.